Right, let's talk Man United. Are they edging closer to getting their second signing of the summer then?
Well, there was a development last night, Hayley. They've made an improved offer of more than £60 million for Bryan and Mbeumo. We know they had a bid rejected a few weeks ago, around £45 million plus £10 million in add-ons. We will wait to see if this latest offer will be enough to prize a player away who was absolutely phenomenal under Thomas Frank last season. But Thomas Frank maybe being the key name there. He's no longer going to be the Brentford head coach, of course. He is at Tottenham. Tottenham showed interest, but it does look like if Brentford accept that offer, he will be heading to Old Trafford. And what a season he had last season. We talk about the lack of goal threat from Manchester United under Ruben Amorim last season. He really wants to add to that attacking front line. Of course, they've got Matheus Cunha coming in, but 20 goals last season is ever so impressive. Expected assists first as well. He got 7 assists in the end last season, so a phenomenal season for him for Brentford. Can he match those numbers at Manchester United? If he joins the club, we'll wait and see. Yeah,
because we did think maybe he could be linking up with, of course, Thomas Frank. He could have been going to Tottenham. They wanted him, but who can they maybe turn their attentions to?
Well, there's certainly some real talent still Tottenham are looking at. He was one of a number of players Spurs have discussed ahead of the new season. Anton Semenyo is one name we know that's a player they like. Ebi Eze from Crystal Palace is a player they also like as well, and with reason. He's been absolutely phenomenal for Crystal Palace over the last few seasons. Starring role in the FA Cup final. Look, it's not going to be easy to prize away Eze from Crystal Palace. They've just won the FA Cup. It looks like they should be in Europe now under Oliver Glasner, so we'll wait and see. Is it around 65, 70 million to prize him away? But nothing developing massively yet at the moment, but we know it's a player of interest to them.
OK, good to know. Right, can you bring us up to date with what's happening with Jordan Henderson and his future?
Yeah, really interesting one, this. We brought you this a few hours ago here on Sky Sports News. Now, one of our producers doing the perfect shot here, England training, because he needs a great season to secure his place in Thomas Tuchel's World Cup squad. Maybe that was the biggest surprise when Thomas Tuchel picked his first squad, because you know, he's around 35 years of age now. He was in and out of the Ajax side. Now, what we do know is that he has a clause at Ajax that he's allowed to leave the club on a free transfer, and Marseille and Roberto De Zerbi are keen to take him. So that's one certainly to keep an eye on. OK, that is. Kepa Arrizabalaga switching Chelsea for another London club then. What's happening with Kepa? Where's he going to go? Yeah, it looks like Kepa is on his way to Arsenal. These two London clubs do a lot of business over the years. And it looks like Kepa, who's going to fight for the #1 place for David Raya if that move does go ahead. Arsenal had Neto on loan from Bournemouth last season. He'll be back at Bournemouth. And Kepa, of course, who spent last season on loan at Bournemouth, looks like he's heading to Arsenal from Chelsea with this £5 million release clause. We understand he's in London this week to finalise that transfer.
Oh, OK, thank you very much. I tell you what, just staying here at the moment and staying with, in fact, Chelsea, because they are looking at signing several players this summer with the club, hoping to add a winger and a centre-back ahead of the new Premier League season. Our chief correspondent, Kobe Solikol, has the latest on their potential business.
Chelsea are pressing ahead with a move to sign Jamie Gittens from Borussia Dortmund. Of course, earlier this month, they made a £42 million offer for him, but that bid was rejected by Dortmund, and the two clubs couldn't agree a deal before the first window of the summer closed on the 10th of June. Now, as we reported at the time, Gittens is still a priority target for Chelsea. Both clubs, Chelsea and Dortmund, are out here in the US playing in the Club World Cup, and talks are continuing and ongoing. The player himself is still keen to move to Chelsea, and he was actually an unused substitute in Dortmund's game against Mamelodi Sundowns in Cincinnati on Saturday. Now, Chelsea will sign at least one winger this summer. Garnacho at Manchester United still remains a target as well. They considered making a move for him in January, but a deal couldn't be agreed. He's now been told that he can leave Manchester United, and he was not in the squad for their final Premier League game of the season against Aston Villa. And a couple of days ago, he posted a picture of himself on social media wearing an Aston Villa shirt with Marcus Rashford's name on the back. Meanwhile, Christopher Nkunku, the Chelsea forward, was a United target in January. There were talks held between intermediaries, He will definitely, I think, leave Chelsea this summer, and he hasn't played for them in this Club World Cup. He almost moved to Bayern Munich in January. A deal couldn't be agreed. Of course, Chelsea signed him 2 years ago for £52 million from RB Leipzig. He still has 4 years left on his contract. So could we potentially see a swap deal involving Garnacho and Nkunku? One moving to Chelsea, one moving to United. I'm not so sure, because in the era of PSR and FFP, swap deals really don't make much financial sense.
Tottenham have completed the signing of Ibaraki from Crystal Palace. The deal is done, with all documents signed and the player ready to link up with Ange Postecoglou's squad. Has agreed a long-term contract after Spurs triggered the release clause earlier this week. Meanwhile, Jordan Henderson is on the move again. The former Liverpool captain has accepted an offer from Olympique Marseille, with all terms agreed and the club's now finalizing the transfer fee. Henderson is keen on the new challenge after his short spell in Saudi Arabia and will travel to France within the next 48 hours to complete the move.
Purchase of Matthias Tell, even though he plays on the other side, it's been clear he's not a priority for Tottenham, particularly not at that price. Whereas United have come in with a fairly high opening bid. It's clear that they and Brentford are not miles apart on that, and he would be a massive plus to Manchester United in what they're trying to do next season. They've been a team that's been incredibly reliant on Bruno Fernandes. Clearly they could do with another centre forward as well, but Mbeumo's ability to go past players, ability to score, and getting 20 Premier League goals playing for Brentford is not nothing. I think the money that's Brentford want is not unrealistic, and that's why United and Brentford aren't poles apart in what they want. So I would expect this to get done relatively quickly.
Yeah, reports today suggesting that Brentford are holding out for 62.5 million, which is what United paid Wolves for Matheus Cunha. So if we're arguing over a few million and it's clear that Mbeumo wants to move, you see this one getting over the line.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely solution. And look, I think given that Ruben Amorim wants to make the most of the time that they have this season, the fact that they don't have any European football, it could be, in the short term, very valuable to him. He has said from the off that he needs time on the training pitch to work with the players, to get in their heads. And if he can get the team together, the squad together, that he wants to go into next season with, the sooner the better, really. I think the fact that they've not been involved in the Club World Cup, they don't have any Europe next season, this should give Amorim and United a real chance to work on something, a chance to improve, which they need to do a lot, clearly. And to have Mbeumo on board early on, there's no reason why they shouldn't get that done. And it could be vital for them going into next season.
Yeah, and another position they want to strengthen, of course, is in goal. They're interested in Atalanta's keeper, aren't they, Carnesecchi? Yeah,
that's right. Marco Carnesecchi has been really good in this last season for Atalanta. And I think if you look at the sort of goalkeeper, not just Vicario, but the other sort of overseas goalkeepers who translate well to the Premier League. We saw Joan Garcia, who ended up leaving Espanyol for Barcelona, being linked with a ton of Premier League clubs in the last couple of months. It's clear that when you had, say, Hugo Lloris arriving in the Premier League, there was a sense that he needed to beef up. So now we're sort of cutting out the middleman and saying, okay, if we want a player to come from overseas to the Premier League, he's got to be built like a cupboard in the first place. And Carnesecchi is that. He's 6'5", he's quite thickly set as well. But I think the other side of that is important. The fact that he is someone who's been well developed over the years by Atalanta, came through the youth system, but they sent him out on a load of loans before he became the first choice goalkeeper, still only 24 now. And he's someone who can deal with all that physical attention that he's going to get in the Premier League, but at the same time is surprisingly agile for someone of his size. So he can get down and make saves in low and either corner, at his feet, as with his feet as well. And he's a goalkeeper who's only going to get better. So I think his distribution is